Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Well, hello, friends. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much for having us. We've been looking forward to this for a while. It seems like such a long time since our last visit with you. I remember John. It's nice to see you again. And I also saw you recently with Prem Das's satsang. I watched a bit of that. I have a habit of going around and checking what the other meditation groups are doing around the world and looking at their recordings. I'm always fascinated by that. Even when I was a child, I would listen to radio stations. I'd stay up really late, and on the AM stations, you could hear radio stations, I think, as my memory serves, even as far as away as Scandinavia. So that's just, I always have a curiosity and about what people in other parts of the world are doing. And as Ananda folk, I kind of know most of the time what you're doing. You're setting up chairs, you're leading meditations, you're blessing your food. I can pretty much visualize, but it's just so sweet to be here. Tim and I are very thrilled. And I wanted to say a couple of things. I can't remember. I saw your weather. It's so warm here at the village. It's like 100 degrees. And I was looking at Australia, because I always do that too before I meet with people, look at what their weather is like in their part of the world. And I was thinking, oh, it's got to be really hot in Australia. And I'm looking at the temperature and I'm like, oh yeah, they're on the other side of the hemisphere. It's not the same thing. It's winter there, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, we're just going to talk a bit about what Seva has meant to us, and how we sort of have absorbed it as Anandans, and what Swami has given us through Seva, and just the finer points of it, which will probably all sound really familiar, but hopefully it rings a few new notes, and we can all just kind of get lifted up more in the idea of what Seva is, why we do it, and what a blessing it really is. I think Tim's going to talk first.
Yeah, I'll talk first.
And then I'll go. And then if you have questions, we'd love to hear them. So
good evening. Hi. When I first started thinking about this topic, I thought, well, this would be an easy one. I've done a lot of Seva. I've worked with people and guiding them through Seva. So I thought this would be very easy. And then I started thinking about talking about Seva. And I think that's a little bit harder to do. I mean, if it was an experiential thing, a flow learning thing, that'd be something that I could guide you guys through, and we could do things to kind of bring out what Seva is. At the temple, we have cards that we'll give out to our Seva yogis, and it'll have something written on there, be mindful or whatever, just different ones, and they pick them. And then during our Seva, we'll ring a bell, and everybody will stop, and they'll look at their card, and they'll reread it, and they'll bring it back in. And it's a very helpful, great, I think, experiential flow learning way of doing Seva and keeping why you're there, and you're just not trying to get a lot of work done. So Master told Swami that his work in this world was going to be, and ours, I guess, too, is service and meditation. So since we are through the lineage of Swami, that's our service too. Service and meditation, that's what we do. So Jyotish was giving a satsang a few nights ago, and he said he is going to be writing a book on Seva. So that'll be very interesting. He says nothing has been written on how to do Seva. Things have been written on meditation. He's written a book on meditation. Many people have written a book on meditation. So the meditation part of our path as well is covered. but the seva part, the service part, isn't so much. In fact, I don't even know if there's anything out there at all on seva, on service, and how to do it. So this will be an interesting book. I can hardly wait to read it. So when he goes to India, he said he's going to do an outline anyway. So there's the latest news on that. I found Ananda. I came on the 4th of July back in 1988. I didn't know anything about Master. I didn't know anything about Swami. I didn't know anything about Ananda, but I saw in the local newspaper an advertisement that this community up in the foothills, I lived in Sacramento, just 70 miles away or so in the valley, was having a 4th of July party, a 20-year anniversary. So I thought, I'm going to go up and see this. So I drive up on the 4th of July and I get here and there's all these people running around and they're just smiling and having the best of times. And I was really drawn to their sparkling eyes and their smiles. You know how it is at Ananda, especially during a festival time like that. And this man walked up to me. Later, I worked with him as a carpenter when I moved up here, but Rich Bazan. And he had the biggest heart you ever wanted. And he goes, I go, well, how do I join in? What's going on? I says, oh, just come on down and join in. So he kind of took me by the hand and drug me down to the village center down there. And there was different things happening. And it was really kind of nice, kind of quirky and kind of dumb, but kind of a whole bunch of fun. You know how it is when they try and put these things on and they write the plays themselves and put these little skits on themselves. And I just fell in love with it. I just don't know how else to put it. And then the parade started and each community had a banner held, 2 sticks, a person on either side, banner hanging in the middle, walking down with a group of people behind him. So these waves of people were coming down there. And I saw one that said Sacramento, and I go, I live in Sacramento. So that was very nice for me that I saw that. So that was beautiful. I made a vow that I'd come back up and visit, and I went back to my life in Sacramento. And I just kept being drawn, or I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I guess the only way to put it, I just couldn't get it out of my mind, this Ananda and what was going on. Because harken back, I don't really know anything about Swami or Master, or I really wasn't even looking for any spiritual path per se. I just didn't have that leaning at that time. So I looked up in the phone book. I think some of you people might know what a phone book is, some might not. But I looked it up in the phone book and found Ananda Sacramento. And I went there the next day. And to show you how naive I was, I knocked on the center door, knocked on it. I didn't open it up and just walk in like everybody does, right? I knocked on it and I stood there. And this lady opens it up and goes, yes, can I help you? Because I think she was a little, what are you doing? So I says, well, I would like to come to Sunday service. And she goes, well, yeah, you can come to Sunday service. And I go, well, what should I wear? Because this is a yoga meditation, but I thought maybe I had to have sweat clothes on. I didn't know. So this is where I started with this whole thing. So, and so I went back home with an idea. I'd come for Sunday service. I came for Sunday service. It was just so much energy. I could barely even move. It was just overwhelming. It was just waves overwhelming me. And all this to say, so I had a job where I was out in the field. So at lunchtime, once in a while, I'd come by the center and I'd ask if I could serve. And Bella, who was working there at the time, says, yes, you can vacuum. So I would often take my lunchtime and go by there just to be in the center, vacuuming all the rugs, just vacuuming, drawn back. I'd come for Sunday service, but I'd come more to do the seva. I would come more to vacuum. Yeah, I would just show up to vacuum for no reason, because I could just feel the joy that it brought me. And I still probably didn't have a hook of why. I probably couldn't have voiced it. So this is all this to say that what I brought, or what I did notice looking back on this, is that it brought a one-pointed concentration to me. When I was there was me, the vacuum, and the rug. And all I concentrated on was doing the best job I could. In fact, one time, there were some plants around there. Bella told me, nobody ever moves the plants to vacuum underneath them. But it was just, that's all I could think about, was just what was going on in front of me. And I used to play sports. And that was something I kind of got out of sports too, because I would forget about myself. I would just concentrate on what's going on. I wasn't thinking about what's happening and when I stopped playing, or what happened earlier in the day. It was just what was happening in that moment, just the concentration, volleyball, basketball, whatever the activity was. It was just concentrating on that. And I found that same energy in that same freedom that I did find in the Seva, and just vacuuming that rug and watching those lines appear in the rug as I go across it. So it's just that high concentration, and that, I think that's an integral part of Seva, is concentrating on what you're doing, trying to put yourself out of the way. It's likened to, ever watch a cat watch a mouse hole? Ever watch a cat? We have gophers here, and sometimes the cats will look at the gopher hole, and not moving, not blinking. You can tell they're not thinking. They're looking right at that gopher hole, and that's all that's on their mind. When that gopher or that mouse comes out of that hole, he's mine. So this is the type of what I felt. This is what enveloped me. This is what I was doing. Had that kind of concentration. And I think Seva is broad. I knew nothing about Seva, and I kind of tuned into it. And I worked with a children's theater group. They were kindergarten to 12th grade, and they did musicals. And we'd have to build sets. As parents, we'd have to build sets because nobody else was going to do it. So we had to build sets. And these guys and gals would come together, and we'd build these sets, and we work for hours and hours just having fun putting the set. There was no competition. There was no reward. There was nothing. They were giving up their time, their energy, just to do something so that the children in general would have a great experience, would get as much as they could out of the theater group. And I think that makes Seva is universal. But what makes it a little bit different for Anandans, I think we do it a little more consciously. We try to get ourselves out of the way. We try to have our actions be about not what I can gain, but what I can contribute. That seems to be a universal theme within Ananda. So I was listening to a talk by Swami, and he said that Master was asked one time, this man asked Master, if God is the doer, then why doesn't God just do everything and free us? And of course, Master came back with, because we don't know God's the doer. We think we're doing it. We think we're the ones pushing the vacuum back and forth. We think that is what's going on, but it's not. It's if we can just open up to that flow, just open up to God doing this through us. It's not us. It takes another level away from us thinking about us, from about when I get done with this, I'll get some good karma, the reward. factor. We're just doing it selflessly because we're not doing it. God's doing it. So we can bring Seva into our meditation because meditation is action. Meditation is not passive. Meditation is you put out some effort. You try and concentrate. It's the point between the eyebrows. You try and, whether it's Hong Sa, whether it's Om, whether it's Kriya, you are putting out some effort. So if we're putting out some effort, then we can't say, want to go into meditation. When I come out, the stress will be a little more relieved. So I'm going to get something out of it. Or I'm going to do my Kriyas so one lifetime will be wiped away of bad past karma or whatever. It just has to be master meditating through us. God is working through us when we do our seva, but God has to meditate through us. And so how is a way we can kind of remove that us out of the picture? And one way we can move the us out of the picture is just by trying to do our meditation perfectly. Just concentrating on the technique that we're working in and try to do it perfectly, because you will not be able to think about yourself when you're just trying to hone that technique down to a fine edge. So that is one way we could bring Seva into our meditation. Of course, then our meditation is going to be over and we're going to be back into the world. So then we have to think, how can we bring meditation into our Seva? And so meditation and the Seva is the same thing. We need to concentrate on what we're doing, how we're serving somebody else, and try to do it the best we can. No matter what you're doing for the other person, you can see them. This is God serving God. So you have to concentrate, how could I do this a little better? If you're given a job of cleaning the bathrooms, Expanding Light's looking for people to help clean right now. They're down karma yogis. So they're asking for people to clean the bathrooms. So when you go in and clean the bathroom and go, man, do I hate this. Might not be the best move. But if you went in there and just said, I'm going to try and do the best job I can. I'm just going to see if I just can't shine this place up and just concentrate on doing the best job you can, on making it the perfect cleaning of the bathroom that you can. You kind of forget yourself. You will be able to forget yourself because you're concentrating on doing that thing just perfectly. Swami also said that Seva done perfectly will rid you of karma. So we could work all day. We don't have to meditate anymore. We could just serve all day, and we could be getting rid of karma as we go through our day. And I think that's true. If we could do it with a perfect thought of I'm not the doer, I think that, Swami says that karma will be removed from our life. Bad past karma is dissolved. This is as powerful, if done correctly, as Kriya. So we have to take Seva and give it some energy and try to do the best we can to remove ourselves from the equation and just see it's God working through us. The guest is God is a saying that's at the Expanding Light. And it's true. And so when you serve, when people come to your center, when people come to your workplace, when your boss walks up to you, whatever, this is God serving God. The guest is God. You have to look at it that way and just do the best you can to see the highest potential in who he is. So that's about all I really have to say, is just doing your Seva just as perfectly as you can, trying to remove what I'm going to get out of this, what's in it for me, promotion in my job, and just see, I'm just serving as hard as I can. I mean, it harkens back to that story we've all heard about the young man going to the guru and saying, please make me your disciple. And he says, yes, you can be your disciple. And you can do that by chopping some wood and fetching some water. And the man, year after year, chopped the wood and fetched the water, and chopped the wood and fetched the water. And then one day he was fetching a pail of water, and he looked in the water and he saw his reflection, and his beard was white and long, his hair was long and all white. And he just goes, I wasted my time fetching water, splitting wood. What have I done? And he started to cry. And the guru comes out and catches that drop and says, do you know, if one tear would have hit the ground, we would have had famine for 7 years, because you are such a saint. You've grown into such a saint just doing that simple service with just the idea, I'm serving my guru. So this is the power of Seva. This is the liberating part of Seva. This is past bad karma being eliminated just through Seva, through this example of this story of this man.
Thank you. So, Jyotish a while back recently described the 3 pillars of our path here at Ananda as attunement, sadhana, and Seva. And it's this 3-legged thing that we have going on. They're all equally important. And oftentimes when people start off on the spiritual path and become acquainted with the idea of karma yoga, they kind of can be off as to what that means. Some people might think it means working really hard and doing whatever I can, shoulder to the grindstone, and with a certain amount of grimness would help, let me just get in there and I'm working for God and look at me, not, and then other people, yeah, I'm going to work for God and it's all groovy and I'm going to cook with my friends and we're going to build a community and ooh. Kind of reminds me of a story actually that Swami told. I heard this recently about in the early days being up at the retreat. And I don't know if they were having a fire ceremony or what was going on, but there was, I don't know how many there were in those days. It was quite before my time. Maybe I got the impression there was 20 or 30 people at this satsang or ceremony or whatever they were having. And suddenly something caught on fire there. And so they all start getting water, Swami too. It was quite a fire. They were spending some time throwing water on the fire, well, one fellow, detached himself and went over and sat down and and Swami said, this is not the time to om. This is the time to get busy. So we have to pick how we're approaching our karma yoga and what we're doing in every moment. It's really though to as Tim was saying, to just work hard or be with others in a state of communal unity. That's wonderful. It truly is. And it would be nice if more people in the world were like that, but it's not in and of itself a true path to God. We have the bhakti path and the karma yoga, the seva path and the jnana path. But just in and of itself, just to work hard or serve with others is not in and of itself a path to God. We have to bring God into it for it to be a path to God. We have to bring him into it, not our own desires, not the approbation of our fellows. We have to bring him and allow him to flow through us as much as we can. And remember that the goal of all yoga is yogas chitra vitri narod. Yoga is the neutralization of the waves of feeling. So as we serve, we want to move into that mode of feeling God. There's so many, as you move on the path with that in mind and for those of you who have been on for a while, I'm sure you have examples of serving. And at some point, turning around and looking around you, it could be serving by yourself. It could be serving with a group of people, but suddenly you're just really detached from the whole event and really just seeing the beauty of what you're doing. I remember feeling that so much. I spent a few months in Assisi, Italy. I don't know if any of you have been there, but they have this beautiful dining hall and you can see these mountains out the windows. And every morning, it was so lovely. I had a spot at the end of one of the tables where I would write and correspond. The Italians started calling that my office, that little end of the table in the dining area. And every morning the sun would just peel back the shadows from the mountains and it just lit up the whole dining room. And I would be in there when it was my turn to serve. And there was just such a presence in that place, such a beauty in the seva and serving people and knowing that people are going to come and feel the vibration of our masters. And I felt that too in groups of people too, when I just look around at my guru bhais and friends and guests who have come and just sort of that detached state we want to have. And it's just so awesome when you can get to that serviceful place where you're just offering everything you can to everyone who comes and working with them in that state of unity. The specific seva we offer is really relatively unimportant compared to the attitudes and the energy we bring to it. And as Tim was mentioning, Jyotish is working on this book. We hope he'll get it out soon. He said, God willing, he'll work on it in the fall in India, but he's been talking about this book for 5 years. So we're waiting, so it's like, okay, it's time because we really want this book. I think it will be wonderful. We don't have another book like it at Ananda. In fact, one of the things that drew me to Ananda was this idea of karma yoga, which I didn't fully comprehend. But I had read a book before I came here from Ram Dass, the Western Ram Dass, and I forget the woman's name, and it was on Seva, and it really resonated with me. So I kind of had an idea when I came here. And then when I came, I saw it in action. I too came at a 4th of July celebration weekend, 5 years later than Tim, but interestingly enough. And I came to the Expanding Light. Haridas and Roma were running it then. And I had no clue either. I had no clue when I left at the end of the week, and I had no clue. But I just saw these beautiful faces and being down at the market, the way they served and the joy they brought to it was just incredible. My soul knew I was home, even if my mind was like, can this really, really be honest to goodness what I've been looking for all these years, desperately looking for, but I couldn't believe I'd actually stumbled on it. And stumbled on it, Master would say divinely directive, but at the time I thought stumbled. Right. So it was their attitudes, it was their energy, and we build that on a foundation of dynamic energy, meditating with energy, chanting before serving, energizing with energy. All of these actions help us enter a space where we can feel with enthusiasm and joy the divine flowing through us in whatever it is we're doing. It really, as Tim was describing, helps us keep our focus. We become more concentrated. We're just here with the vacuum cleaner. We're just here with the carpet, and God is flowing through us. We can really enhance that too by practicing japa. Now, that might be called multitasking, but I think that's a good thing to multitask. Okay, so there's a lot of slamming about multitasking, and rightly so. Even here at Ananda, like just focus on what you're doing, and that's a good thing. But Sagar, many of you may know Sagar. He's so wonderful. He said, "Well, but if I'm drinking my tea while I'm preparing my talk, it seems to help me anyway." He's got such a wonderful sense of humor. And then, before you serve, it's so important to pray and just offer everything up to God and Guru. Right spiritual attitude can be very difficult to maintain throughout our day if we don't do our practices. It can't be maintained if it's not coming from a place of upliftment of consciousness. And the way we do that is through our meditation, moving that energy up the spine, japa, moving that energy up the spine, chanting, moving that energy up the spine, all to this place right here that we're all familiar with. And I always give a plug for chanting because I love chanting, but the reason why chanting is half the battle, I heard it explained. I always sort of, in my mind, had my idea when I heard that is because it helps our concentration.
Mhm.
It helps our devotion. It's a real thing. It's half the battle. How blessed are we that music, chanting is half the battle? That's easy. You don't even have to play an instrument. You just chant, do japa. Swami Kriyananda, I'm gonna read a little bit of what he says here. And it's really important to realize that, as Tim was saying, also, it doesn't matter the outcome of our seva. It doesn't mean the goal's not important, but we can only do what we can do. You know, we give it our full 150%. We give it our energy. We give it our joy. We say yes and make it snappy. And that's all we can do. We just see the goal, set ourselves right. And I think this is really important when we're serving guests or when we're doing something that is for other people. We want things to be perfect for them. We want things to go smoothly. We want to embrace them with our energy. And sometimes things go wrong. You know, maybe the plumbing doesn't work for the, the guest house at the EL, or maybe the oven went down at Master's Market. If you've done your best, what else is there to do? This is a test, and it's a gift of a test. Are we going to maintain our equilibrium and be an example of even-mindedness no matter what? Whatever comes of itself, let it come, and I will remain calm and centered through the whole thing. Well, I won't always, but I try my very best. So, but we have each other to support each other in this, and we have the teachings to remind us, and we have Master to guide us. So it doesn't mean that we can be sloppy, but if we know in our heart, I guess my point is that we've done our very best, speaking from a detached place to ourselves, there's nothing to get upset about. I honestly did my best, and this is happening for a reason, for me, for everyone. Swamiji says, karma yoga means to give up the fruits of action, not to be attached to what you are doing, to the point where you come to realize that you're not even doing it. Because as long as you think I am acting, you're still not acting properly. Whereas as you give up the fruits of action and cease to be involved in them, cease to be attached to them, you begin to realize that there's something flowing through you, taking over. And that's when that happens. He's the one doing it. Being a karma yogi is a state of being, just like being a bhakti yogi or jnana yogi. The jnana yogi doesn't get up from his books and say, okay, I'm closing the book now. Now I'm not a jnana yogi anymore. Or the bhakti yogi, I'm done chanting, so now I'm not a bhakti yogi anymore. A karma yogi is a karma yogi in every moment. It's part of the Raja Yoga that is a true path to God when we approach it correctly. And there are so many ways to be a karma yogi and to practice karma yoga. I tend to go for the off the beaten path things when I think about these things. And one of the things I was thinking about earlier was being serviceful to people on more subtle levels. Yes, we greet them when we come, and may I bring you something to drink, or may I set up a chair for you? But one thing that can be very dynamically effective, and people in this world need it. And this is just one small example. You can create other examples along this line in your own lives, I'm sure. But it's listening attentively when conversing with others. People want to be heard. They want to feel like they matter and that you care about them as a unique individual. And it's not about what you have to share, but what they're ready to receive. That is more important than anything you can say, is tuning in to where are they and how can I serve them? And I've had a lot of lessons, and I still work on it, on zipping my mouth and just listening. I want to share. I'm an eager sharer. I want you to feel what I'm feeling and be in joy. I've had to learn to just listen and see where they're at. And you feel people's gratitude, that you just acknowledge them as a person. And that is our path. That is, that is what we really want to go for, is self-forgetfulness and being fully present for people. That creates an energy that extends far beyond our interaction with them. What's that saying? People won't remember what you said or how you said it or how long you talked, but they're going to remember the energy when they leave you. I've had this for a few of my, we have some new younger light bearers here, and I've you can get a little nervous, who am I to, we all can, who am I to talk to everybody about this? They all know, they're my peers. And I just remind them, nobody's going to remember a word you say. I know I won't. I don't think I'm the only one, but after you're done, I know that I feel uplifted. Another way is to send prayers anywhere and everywhere that is needed. This, again, is a more subtle thing, in that, we think of prayer as, well, I've got to sit down before my meditation or after my meditation, and I have to be, writing my book and Divine Mother, flow through me and this and that. And that's, of course, very wonderful. And we want to do that because that is sharing our blessings. But I always remember a friend of mine, an Italian, who was traveling, this was many years ago, who was traveling from India to Italy. She made the trip back and forth quite frequently. And she flew from India into Italy to the airport and was picked up by some friends. And she brought a whole lot of things with her that, I think it was for the gift shop there, cloths and books and this and that and the other. So they picked her up and they stopped at this place. I think it was probably the Auto Grill. They have these places called an Auto Grill all along the freeways in Italy. Lots of fun. So they go in there. It's wonderful. Great to see you. It's been so long. Thank you for bringing everything. And they go back out to the car. Everything's gone. Every last bit of what she had brought was stolen. And her very first reaction was to fall on her knees and start praying for the person who stole the things from her car. That story always touched me. I mean, even we just had our goat lady, our Yogoda lady, just had her cart stolen in the middle of the night. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah.
She had a bunch of hay on. It was last night and somebody stole it, and she's a good-hearted person. I know that she probably did the same thing in her own fashion, just immediately started praying for whoever did that. It reminds me of a story. I think it was about the Shakers, who, I don't know if everybody knows them. They were a kind of a, what do you call those little groups? Not a cult, but a sect of the Quakers, I believe. And they used to plant, farms, food and this and that. And I think they died out because part of their tenets were celibacy. And I think in the 60s, things changed and young people weren't coming anymore. So I think they eventually died out. Anyway, thieves would come and take, food from their crops, and the crows would come and take food and peck at it and ruin it. And, and they would just plant more and more. And someone said, how do you deal with that? And they said, well, thieves and crows need to eat too. And they would just plant more. So everybody had enough. And another, I hope I'm not going, it's I'm going on. I better giddy up. What's the most important? Seeing our work as Seva, as Tim was talking about, there's this consciousness sometimes that, when we're at our job, our 9-to-5 job, it's work. But the more we can see that as seva, the more that we see that as where Master has placed us for our growth, the more we can allow him to flow through us. And when we perform whatever we need to do, even in a not so high vibration environment, we are working for him. When we're even-minded and cheerful through things that go up and down through the day, we set an example in this world and we give off a vibration that blesses people. You know, so many people, I'm sure that they must do this in Australia too. Oh, it's Monday. Oh, thank God it's Friday. You know, when we do that, we're losing part of our life. We're losing opportunities to just be even-minded and cheerful through everything by approaching each day as a gift, by saying, you know, actually, I don't have to be here. I choose to be here. And someone can argue the point, well, I have to be there. I have to pay my bills. I have to do this. I have to. No, you've actually chosen all those things. When you really think about it, you've chosen to live a life where you need to pay these bills and have these obligations. You could choose a whole different life. People do it all the time, but you've chosen this. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you do just want Friday to come, and you just have to be real with that. We just have to keep bringing it back, bringing it back. Having a regular job is not a mark of bad karma, or we're not progressing spiritually. Lahiri Mahashai, after receiving Kriya from Babaji, went back and worked in the office for what, another 50 years? So I'm pretty sure that when he went into the office, he took God with him. So we can do the same thing, you know. So it's just another thought and a way to approach our lives, no matter where we are, no matter what we do, that channel is blessed by what flows through it. And we can find ways to cultivate that each and every day. And I'm going to stop now. I have lots more. Maybe I'll save it for part 2 in case anybody has any questions or any or wants to share any examples that would be inspiring to us too. It would be lovely.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Can't really hear you.
Oh,
Can you hear us
now? We're very, we're very appreciative of that heartfelt message that you both brought to us. Such beautiful words. And I was wondering if you could just share a little bit about how Seva, from a broader perspective, helps the world. So not just steps out of Ananda, or ourselves, but also helps the world.
Well, I think, you know, there's the more obvious ways in that if, you know, as I say, if we're working out in the world, these things have a ripple effect. And even if people don't realize it in the moment, we as yogis, our job is to see things in terms of eternity. So we're planting seeds that may not even come to fruition in this lifetime. But we're talking about longer rhythms and seeing everybody as a soul and what is happening when we serve in that way. And then just in a vibrational level, I mean, we are all connected. Everything we do counts. Everything we do matters. Every single thing, which is kind of a big thought, you know. So when we sit to pray, when we chant, our vibration is changed, is just ripples in a pond. And I can't even begin, my little brain can't even begin to fully conceive what that means, but I know it's true. Master said it's true. And we know deep inside that it's true. Even if we don't fully cognize it on a vibrational level, the way Master would, we know that our efforts, our energy, everything we do is energy, and it expands out everywhere. No effort is ever wasted, and no effort is ever self-contained. You want to say anything or?
No, that pretty much covered it. We are all one. That's something that's said here at Ananda Village quite often. We're all one. And I think it's true. And just like I felt it when I went into the Sacramento Center, I'm sure they feel it when they go into the Australian Center. I'm sure people walk in. And so there's that connection that runs through there. The Seva that's gone on, the Seva that you guys bring, on a daily basis, putting out all the energy you guys put out to make Master's work come alive in Australia is amazing. And of course, they're going to walk in there and they're going to feel that, because we are all, just like Lisa said, we're all interconnected. So what I do affects you. I mean, and what you do affects me. I can't feel that directly, but what's happening. When people walk in there and they're smiling and they're looking at you and they're going, wow, and you can feel that wowness from them, even if they don't vocalize it. It's because we're connected. We're all one. So if you're doing Seva perfectly and taking yourself out of the equation, they're going to feel the fact that that you are helping them and they are helping you.
It's thank you both so much. And I really like the idea of part 2, because it's such a beautiful topic, and unfortunately we've run out of time. We are going to open this up for chat, and we'll receive information, but would you do a part 2 with us at a time?
We would love to.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
wonderful to be with all of you, your shining faces.
Hi,
We
John.
enjoy you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We would love to share send this beautiful light and vibration out with 3 Oms together.
I do have one request before we close. Everybody write to Joe Tish and ask him when that book's coming out. This is
I'll offer to
divine.
help
They're
him.
talking to you through all these channels. Come on, let's do it.
We can offer to help him.
There we go.
Okay, blessings everyone. Thank you all for being here, and thank you,
Be
Lisa.
well.
You
Be
both
well,
are
friends.
shining beautiful lights. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Till next time.